We're a little over a week away from the Austin Grand Prix in Texas, and we enter into what is going to be the defining moments of this 2024 Formula One World Championships. Now, as we know, for this event, both McLaren and Red Bull will be bringing upgrades, which will of course define where both championships ultimately end up. Now, of course, both teams will be looking to bring upgrades to help alleviate some of the weaknesses that are inherent within their cars that have become apparent throughout the season, or to just generally progress the overall performance of their car. And before we get into the upgrades, I thought it would be quite interesting if we highlight the key strengths and weaknesses of both of these cars. So to begin with, let's start off with the McLaren car and the MCL 38. Now, the MCL 38 is the most complete Formula One vehicle on the entire grid this season, and it will go well at every single circuit imaginable on the 2024 F1 calendar, whether it's the slow and twisty high downforce nature of, say, Monaco or Singapore, or to the low drag, high top speed circuits such as Monza. This car is an all-rounder. It will not have any weaknesses in regard to its competitors. Another ability which became very apparent at the Singapore racetrack was the ability that the MCL 38 has to ride the curbs and to of course absorb all of the shock from doing so. This was very much evident throughout the race, as they were able to pull at times over a second a lap to the chasing RB20. And essentially that was all thanks to being able to ride the curbs and how the car absorbs the shock from going over them. It gives them the optimum lines through the corner and a perfect balance as well. And as such, the McLaren outfit only have to bring upgrades in which they're targeting an upturn in performance and of course handling for the MCL 38 for both Lando Norris and of course Oscar Piastri. In contrast, Red Bull are on the opposite end of this scale. For them, there are numerous weaknesses that they have found with the RB20 throughout the season, and those have become very much public knowledge across the last handful of races. For the team, the cause and main root of their issues can be found all the way back last season in the Spanish Grand Prix upgrade package, which they brought to the RB19. From there, they went down the wrong development path and they didn't find out all the way up until the Italian Grand Prix in 2024. This is all thanks to the exceptional ability and adaptability of Max Verstappen to drive around the inherent flaws and weaknesses of both these cars. Now, of course, what are the issues? Well, it's all about the handling and the balance of the RB20. It's completely different to that of the RB19, as Max has said on numerous occasions. And essentially, there is also a correlation issue between the sim world and the real world, which also is another major issue for the team. And of course, there's finally also the issue of its rideability that it has, or the lack of it, with regards to riding the curbs. And that's across every single circuit. It's a very much well documented series of weaknesses across all of the ground effect era Formula One cars Red Bull have created. So it's an area they will be looking to target and to improve upon. But it's not the key area. And of course, now we can discuss what they'll be bringing in terms of upgrades to the Circuit of Americas. Now, of course, the name of the game in Formula One with regards to upgrades has drastically changed throughout the course of the ground effect era. It's no longer about bringing the peak maximum levels in terms of the load and downforce to a Formula One car. That's not the way in which to go about bringing performance and upgrades. What happens is, and this is what's been found out throughout this season in particular, when you reach a certain threshold in terms of load and performance in terms of downforce, the cars behave in a way in which you do not want them to. And so you have to stay within the parameters that you have been able to kind of identify in order to bring performance and handling upgrades with regards to how it, handles. And so that is the reason behind One team not wanting to bring their upgrades, which is of course the McLaren outfit and their floor, which they've had for a long while now this season, but have yet to introduce. And on the other hand, we have the Red Bull outfit, which has had loads of performance issues thanks to their floor upgrades, which they introduced all the way back in 2023 at Barcelona. It is meant that they went down a development path in which the peak levels and the peakiness has been an issue that was only found out in Monza a couple of races ago. And so teams are having to be exceptionally careful with regards to what upgrades they bring. Now let's talk about Red Bull directly here. What they will be bringing to Austin is a major floor upgrade. This comes after running trials and running kind of bit parts from all the specifications of floors that they've had up until this point. They've taken points from the floor edges, from the floor roof, and of course the Venturi tunnels, and kind of done a Frankenstein mix and match to kind of get an understanding of what is working and what isn't. And that is what they've been undertaking across the last couple of race weekends. Now for Austin, they will be bringing this final specification of floor with the hopes and aims of it, of course, alleviating the handling and balance issues that both Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez have had. And if they can do so, Helmut Marko, for example, hopes there's going to be a huge amount of performance to be gained from it. Now, of course, that is one aspect from it. If it doesn't plan out that way, then that is a huge disadvantage that the team will be in. And it would look increasingly more likely that they will lose both championships, but more so the constructors. The Drivers' Championship is very much still up for grabs in both camps. Now for McLaren, again, it's a floor upgrade which we know for certain that they have. Now, will they introduce it in Austin? That is the big issue and the big question on our hands. They could certainly introduce it across the practice sessions, but of course with Austin, if I'm not mistaken, being a sprint weekend, that does bring quite a bit of trouble to it. It would only leave you with one practice session in order to gather the data and to race it in the kind of sprint race. Now, of course, that would give you the amount of data that you would need to gather to run a complete analysis, because you could run a back-to-back simulation between the two cars and split the floors. You could have, for example, I think what they would do and what I would do as the team principal is make sure that the floor upgrade is going on Oscar Piastri's floor for the first practice, for the sprint qualifying and the sprint race. And you run the known quantity with Norris since he's ahead in the championship. And if you see there is a huge performance difference between the two cars, you go with whichever one is bringing more performance to it. And I think that is the name of the game with which McLaren should take and execute this floor upgrade that they hopefully will be bringing to Austin. But that is where I'm going to wrap the video up. I hope everyone has enjoyed the video. If you have, do of course leave a like on the video down below. Leave any comments that you have. And of course, if you're new, do subscribe if you've enjoyed the video and turn on notifications for all future Formula 1 content. Alright everyone, I'll catch you all later this weekend for some more Formula 1 videos.